Hey, Garrett.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for coming forward.
I'm muting you, Garrett, because you're giving feedback. Everyone, thanks for coming to the Sister Witches Book Club. I'm so excited for this. We're just pulling my brain together to get this going. I'm literally standing in my kitchen, but I will move in a minute where I don't look like so washed out underneath my light. So welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm going to call you guys out if you want to introduce your name and where you're at. So everyone is kind of oriented. We'll start with Lila. What's your name and where are you? You have to say your name. Say your favorite Sister Witches character. Your favorite Sister Witches character. And where you're from. So Lila, you're in South Australia. Who's your favorite?
Wildrose Manor.
Yes, Wild Rose Manor. We have some great questions about Wild Rose tonight. Dana, where are you and what's one of your favorite characters? Because favorite is so rude of me to ask.
I know. I am currently in Southwest Florida, and favorite character.
Rude,
One
right?
of them. I really like Sana.
Oh, so do I. Sana's amazing. Karen, where are you and who's your fave? Who's one of your faves?
Northern Wisconsin on Lake Superior, and I have to say Sana.
Yay. Kim, what about you?
I'm in wonderful white Wyoming.
Oh, Kim, I'm so sorry. Hey, just for the record, I'll be commiserating soon. We have a winter storm warning, 12 inches expected.
Oh, yeah, Utah got
This
that.
is what
My
I
family
say.
said today.
Anyway, wonderful Wyoming. Who is a favorite of yours in the Sister Witches?
Gosh.
Just a favorite, right? I'm modifying.
Did you say from the Sister Witches?
From the Sister Witches, book one.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought we were going really
we're
broad.
good. No. See, I got you guys. You are now on my air fryer, which is much better. Okay.
I'm gonna go with Izza.
Oh, sweet.
Really? I'm surprised.
What does that mean?
What did you say? What did you say, Debbie?
I said I was surprised. I figured you would pick Sana. I don't know why. I don't know why. I just had it.
I don't know. I see Isadora and Kim.
Yeah.
Amy, if you can't pop on, do you want to just tell us if you can in the messages where you're at and if you had a favorite in the Sister Witches? Some people pop on in here and can't talk or anything. We totally get that. You can just hang. Debbie, where you at and a favorite?
Illinois. Isadora.
Oh, another shocker. Andy, how about you?
Hi, I am in Guatemala and I like Max very much.
No, another surprise. We're gonna have some great conversation.
I'm somewhat torn between Max and his lovely brother. Well, brother.
Charlie.
Yeah, I mean Charlie's so fun and he's always saying things like, "Bam, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm saying. You like it, cool. You don't like it, sorry." And he's usually saying it to Max, which kind of, makes it funner.
Max needs it. Amy responded and she said that she hasn't read Sister Witches yet, but she's in Wyoming. Hey, where do you live in Wyoming? Because
I just asked her that.
Kim lives there and I have a cabin there. Casper. Oh, sweet Casper. Yeah, other side for sure. I lived in the mountains northwest of Fort Collins by Red Feather Lakes, which is like 10 to 15 miles as the crow flies from the southern Wyoming border on the other side. So we would drive through Casper, I think. Do we drive through Casper? I can't remember. What day is it? Next one, Garrett is in the background. Run, Garrett, run!
Made it. Max, Iowa. So a million.
Max. Oh, I said back, and I was like, I'm sorry. Did you say
we all
back?
heard back?
Definitely not back. Yeah. Okay. I was like, Max. No, I thought he was making a joke about back.
No.
I was like,
no. No, Maximilian. And
Garrett,
and Iowa.
I signed you up for something with Terry today. He may or may not be making a bookmark for you that says Baxter on one side and Son of a God on another. I don't know where you got the idea. I mean, Weird. Weird.
You
You
kind of
know
missed
what?
out this morning, Garrett.
Well, so here's the thing: is this guy got to work again today? So you know,
Man,
what do you do?
like adulting sucks, right?
It truly does.
And Leanne just popped in. Leanne, we're just doing introductions. You want to say where you live and a favorite character from the Sister Witches novel?
Oh, okay. I'm from Central Virginia, and Isadora, of course.
Oh, it's been a pretty even split between the sisters. That makes me happy. I thought that there would be a favorite, and I'm glad there's not. As you know, I'm Katie Cross. I happen to be the one person that can claim every character as a favorite. Just kidding. Charlie's my favorite. I'm going to go there. Charlie's my favorite. And I live in Northwest Montana, where we are about to get a foot of snow, in which I will probably go berserk. So there's that. And tonight is the Sister Witches Book 1 book club, and I'm so excited to chat about this. This could get interesting, but Carol's not here to get spicy, so we'll see if like the spicy questions are out, because Carol's the one that's always like throwing those out there. All right, as always, I love to start with a very broad, generic question. What was your general impression of this book? If you could assign it one word, what word would you assign the Sister Witches Book 1?
Enlightening.
Oh, that's a good one. I would say that for The Advocate also.
Yeah.
By the way, Karen was like reading frantically while at Fantasy with me last week because she had to get the puzzles out. So that's even better.
My word is what?
I love that. That's so good.
Wait, in regards to what? Like what?
Well, there's so many parts that were like, what? What?
In a good way or a bad way?
A good way.
Mm.
But like just surprised that some of the parts just surprised me. But then the Sana learning to be vulnerable was that was instead of tough. That made me cry.
Which is really the true tough, right?
Yeah, really. Yeah.
I mean, the people with like the biggest cojones have the most vulnerability, if you ask me. But you got to learn that. Sana had a lot of hard lessons in this book.
Oh yeah. This is my word.
That seems about right for you. Yeah. And oh gosh, you haven't even hit book 3 yet. Just you wait. That's gonna turn to a delightful cackle. Anyone else?
I was going like,
I accept noises. That's
most
fine.
of it.
Is it
Do
because
you
of
accept
math?
spiders?
Yeah.
Spiders?
No,
Spider.
spiders. He was like, no, please don't say spider. Please don't say spider. Please don't say spider. Boom, it said
Oh,
spider.
I know. Like what? Your head. Yeah, that was definitely a what? Those I had blocked them from my brain.
Yeah.
Spider glue.
The Rain des Arachne. So, that's funny. You were the one that posted about it in the Witchery, right?
Yes. Yeah. I blocked it from my brain. Like, forget these creatures.
Wouldn't it be?
How
It's just terrible.
how does your brain do that? And you present as completely relatively normal, and yet you won't about that.
Oh, presentation is everything, my friend.
I'm sorry. I'm not saying the normal. I'm sorry.
That's fair. Yeah,
I
there's not
didn't
much
say you
about it.
are normal. I say you present
on Zoom.
Define
On Zoom.
normal.
That's true, especially in this crowd, right? Especially in this crowd. The Rain des Arachne, I think, came really out of a desire to have, because really Sana's bad guy isn't the Rain des Arachne, right? The bad guy for Sana is really kind of herself at this point. yeah, fear, like her own like tunnelness and her need to grieve, but her unwillingness to do so because she's just lost her sight and now she has to like live with that. But it needed something more because when I was writing the book, I was like, I can't. This is too down. Like no one's gonna want to read this without something else pushing this. And I thought the best bad guy for Sana at this point is something in the forest coming after her because she has no sense of safety, right? And then I needed something different that I'd never done before. And I don't know where that
I did it.
I know. I
Yeah.
honestly don't even know where it came from, but I needed something kind of sneaky that maybe wasn't super in the face at first, but could kind of flow in the background while Sana's figuring her brain out, as we all do. So it ended up being perfect, but it was pretty creepy. Like,
Yeah, I have to tell you, Katie, when I was proofing, I was trying to stay up late that night to get it done, and I got to that part, and I was like, I got to go to bed
Nope.
because if I dream of spiders tonight, I'm going to. So
and not just
I thought,
spiders,
I'll have
but
to
like
finish that
giant
tomorrow.
ones. And don't you love how Ludius just like laid it down on her once the other dragons came?
Yeah.
I love that part when the other dragons come for her. That will be super significant in book 4. Actually, that leads me to my next question. Is there anything that was presented in this book that you're hoping to like learn more about in the upcoming books? Because frankly, I laid out stuff in book 1 that's gonna come to fruition in like book 9, right? So there's stuff that's kind of Easter egged in there for you, and I'm curious what you guys picked up on.
Well, we talked about it once before, Katie, and you kind of alluded that it's in book 2, but I didn't see anything in book 2, but the gargoyles.
Oh no, that's book 3.
Okay.
And the manner.
Oh no,
all-
I drop hints. And there's a big hint in book 3, but you'll
Okay.
figure it out in book 4.
I was gonna say, I thought you did 4.
That's why I
they're-
have such a headache
in
tonight.
Advocate. They're in Advocate and in Sister Witches 1.
Yeah, so they're talking about the 4 gargoyles on top of Wild Rose Manor. They have a purpose, and they throw fire for a specific reason. And I dropped some hints about it. I think a pretty heavy hint in 3. I think it's a heavy hint, but a lot of things I think my readers don't. But in book 4, you're gonna actually see that really come out. So it's a great moment. Yeah, okay, so gargoyles. Anyone else have something that you picked up on that you're like, oh, I'm interested in more of this?
The way Wild Rose allowed Isidore to enter a room, and the way it's interacting already with her, even though she was really only new there, and it's sort of like, oh, what's this relationship going to be? Because it's going to be some kind of relationship. We just don't know what yet.
Yeah, because that was interesting because Charlie had been exploring Wild Rose his whole life and had not been able to budge some of these doors or some of these things, and he was biologically attached to Wild Rose. I thought that was interesting.
But he wasn't actually I don't feel like he's actually as emotionally attached to Wild Rose. And I feel like that's probably a factor.
I think that's why. Don't you think that's why Randolph left Wild Rose to Max was because Charlie didn't really have the connection.
Charlie saw it as more of an obligation, like a legacy, where Max has like a burning desire and love for Wild Rose, like really loves it.
Home.
Because it was home.
Yeah.
And he hadn't had that.
Ever. Yeah, it was like the first safe place he ever landed. Yeah, for sure.
But even the way he talks about it in the isn't that like the first chapter or something? The way he talks about, or is it? I don't know.
When they're like riding the carriage in.
Yeah, and he's talking about Wild Rose and what it is, and I love the hints even he makes in it, that he doesn't tell her everything, but like he sort of goes, well, there's no one upstairs, you know, like.
But there's definitely people downstairs.
I'm not going to talk about downstairs. It's just like.
Well, Wild Rose is so big.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's a really big manor. There was when I backpacked through England, one of the times I did some visiting of like the old houses and stuff that they open up. It's really cool, and I sort of had that in mind. The house that I'm picturing, I can't remember. Oh, I think it's Chatsworth. That it was featured in one of the Pride and Prejudice. That sort of like rectangular blockade style multi-floor. That's kind of what I picture for Wild Rose, but I think it would be even bigger than Chatsworth in layout. But because of readers' love for Wild Rose so far, maybe it's my own love because I'm 4 books in and you guys are 1. But I at the end of the Sister Witches series, I'm going to be launching 2 historical collection books, and one is Wild Rose, and one is The Great Library of Burke. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited
doing
for
a happy dance.
I know the library one, you guys. Oh, it's just talking. Yes.
Sorry.
Anyway, oh, here's Meg. Any other thoughts? Anyone else? We talked about the nursery and the gargoyles. Okay.
What you said about the dragons, that we hadn't seen them like in a while, and then in her hour of need, they show up for her. And even though she can't communicate with them anymore, it kind of seems like they want to let her know that they're still there, you know, and that the relationship can still move forward, even though they are not able to talk to each other. And I have a question though. Ludius can communicate with the dragons, right? With the others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is he eventually going to be kind of like a translator?
Yeah. So Sana, like in book 2 and 3, you'll see. Well, not so much in book 2. Sana doesn't have really reason to communicate with them then. Maybe it's book 3. Definitely book 4. Sana and Ludius like relay. Not 2, yeah, but I think maybe in 3. I haven't put my eyes on book 3 in like a month, so I'm going to start that on Monday again, and then I'll remember. But you'll see more of that in the future for sure. So Ludius can still communicate she can communicate with the other dragons through Ludius. It's just not as convenient as obviously talking right to Ludius. Yeah. And
how much more magic Sana learned?
You like that?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Oh, you're curious.
She's so hesitant. Yeah.
That's a good one too.
You'll get a lot more of that in book 2. Like a lot more of that in book 2. I just, like I was saying, today I finished the 2nd draft of the 4th book, which means I just have one more quick draft to breeze through this weekend before it goes to the editing team, and it takes place like 5 years later, and it's really cool to see like the characters age 5 years after the 3rd book and like kind of grow into magic and stuff. It's really cool. So that'll be a really fun like arc that you see happening over time for Sana. My next question is going to be whether they're like such a punk. My next question is going to be whether you guys had any questions that came up. Andy asked one. Did anyone else have any questions that came up during the book?
I didn't have a question, but I had a thought that came reading the whole the accumulation of the whole book. Like sometimes some of the stuff and the way the girls were behaving, the sisters were behaving, I was going, be patient, Lila. They have been through this massive thing where everything was intense. Their lives were intense. Their lives were on the line. People relied on them. They had these massive world epic things happening. And then suddenly they're having to make house. And it's like, it's like, talk about everything just, it's just like, oh, but, there's going to be more. And it's like, of course they're feeling that because everything was so intense and so big. I was going in my mind like, wow. So that's why I really love the way you managed that and you wrote all that, So
oh, good.
but without saying it.
Yeah. Well, Sana struggles with it, right? Because she's like, I was the High Dragon Master. Like, I just defeated this magic system by kind of an evil goddess, and now I can't even talk to the dragons. Like, I can't even live on my own. And she sort of is like, I'm not that witch anymore, but I wanted to be. And I think so many of us have that, right? Like, life circumstances just sideswipe us, and we're like, I didn't ask for this. I want to be that witch. Like, I want to be that version of me. And we look back instead of like looking forward into what we could become and like how much better we could be with the lessons that we're learning. And that's a hard thing to learn. And Sana's only like 20, right? Like
I know,
20 or
in a major
21.
way too.
Well, I mean, even Isadora struggled with that.
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah.
only so much to do at Wild Rose. I mean, it's a big house, but you know, you
can like clean so
send
long.
a little dust gathering incantation and you're done dusting. I mean, that
amazing.
I wish I had an incantation for that.
My floors would stay clean. Like, I can't even imagine that. I know. But yes, and then Isadora finds herself like in a marriage and this whole new house, and she doesn't actually know if the guy that she's marrying can love her. Like, oh, this is kind of a big circumstance. Speaking of, were any of you frustrated with, oh, go ahead, Andy, I see your hand.
Yeah, hold on, babe. I love the way you were able to, you know, they always say men think this way, women think this way, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I think one in the partnership thinks one way and the other one thinks the other, because when they give, you know, like all the talks and whatever, I'm usually finding myself more towards how they portray men to think, that they're like more practical, you know. Typical example, you go to the supermarket with a list and bam, 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 and that's it. And then they tend to portray women as going all the aisles, aisle for mile, and taking stuff that they don't need. And usually it's the other way around in my marriage. So it was fun to see how you were able to put your mindset in both sides. I mean, it felt very real that he doesn't say this because he thinks, you know, and Sana's waiting for something. And men usually, you can make things as obvious as you can. You can write it on the window, but if you don't say it out loud, you're not going to get it. And she was waiting for something that really was already written there, you know. He was already doing everything he could to show her what she wanted, and she just didn't realize that it was just it's there, you know. So that was fun. That was fun to read.
Good. I had a couple other readers that were like really excited Isadora was kind of the one in the wrong. Not like in the wrong, but she just didn't know what she didn't know. And then when she kind of came around, Garrett definitely did not like Isadora in this book. Right, Garrett?
Yep. Sorry, I had to leave for a second. I came back.
Oh,
though.
you're fine. You're fine. You're totally fine.
Garrett
Talk to
said
me about
something.
Isadora, Garrett.
So here's the deal. Is like, come on, the guy is dealing with a lot of stuff, and here's her like, well, you need to tell me everything right now. Well, you don't want to know everything right now. It's just like any other relationship. Do you really want to open up all your stuff to another person like right when you meet them? Like no.
Run screaming.
I'm sorry.
For the hills.
I was just frustrated.
But they hadn't just met.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you said something about Roxy, and I kept waiting for Roxy to make this like huge mistake and this huge terrible gesture or something. What were you talking about?
Oh, no, just that she came into the meeting with Max just on guard, right? Like she was going to be hard to satisfy, and in the end it wasn't that bad, but Max had no idea. He honestly has a different picture painted of Roxy in his head than Roxy really is. He kind of sees Roxy as this really strict disciplinarian she's really tied into a specific lifestyle. And so he was sort of prepping himself for something way worse. And, you know, Isadora has moxie, just like her mother. And she kind of gets that from her mom, and he sees that in her. So he was just kind of prepped for worse when really wasn't that bad. And then Elliot just fell apart for Max.
He definitely fell into the bromance.
Yeah,
category.
I mean, same. I would probably do the same. Like Henry Cavill walked into my door.
I mean, she was she's being a mama bear. You know, I mean, her girls are everything to her. She has to, you know, I think she feels the need that she has to protect them. And she's not so sure about this guy that just took her without even an invitation. And all of a sudden, hey, you married my daughter and you don't know if you love her or not. So, I mean, I kind of support her in
but they also did
that
come
way.
from that sheltered way. Remember as well, like they've all of them have come from that really, really sheltered lifestyle. It wasn't that long ago for them.
No.
Yeah, but Roxy was actually brought into the Dragon Master world.
Mm-hmm.
She lived in the real world. So she most likely had an idea or a different idea of what Max turned out to be, because from what was presented to her, it was like this guy that just took my daughter, married her for whatever reason, because it wasn't love, because they didn't know each other, they didn't court.
And I didn't even get to be there.
Yeah, and just up and get married with my baby girl, and
well, but Roxy knew he was the ambassador, right? She knew what that meant in a way that no one else did. So that made her even more nervous. And he's like 12 years older than Isadora at some point. But also, Max has never had like a mama bear. He's never had a woman in his corner before. Mm-hmm. So Max's trepidation really came from, I don't know what to expect, right? And she wasn't that bad. Like, I don't think Roxy was really that bad, because I didn't want like discord between them. I didn't want it to be too hard to bridge. But she just came out stronger, especially when pitted against Elliot, who's just like flopping in his chair like a cat for Max, right? You just like loved him. So yeah, and we're talking about the bonus story in case anyone didn't read that. It was only available if you bought the book from my website. So if you bought from Amazon, you won't get the bonus story or any other retailer. But that's the bonus story is Max meeting Roxy and Elliot for the first time, and it's at the end of the book. In case that was
a great bonus story, actually. That I thought that really sort of was a really nice sort of neat way of doing that meeting. Yeah.
The book 2 bonus story is pretty next level.
Sorry.
And it's like 10,000 words long, so it's huge.
Well,
book 3.
The confrontation between Isa and Ma'am was, you know, all parents go through that with their kids. They have certain expectations, and when the kids don't live up to them, don't know what to do, and they're frustrated.
There's almost like a mourning process, right? Like you build up these ideas in your head for your kids, and then you're like, what? You want something else? Because we were like so sure what's best for them. And that felt important to me. And the interesting thing about that conflict between Isadora and Roxy, or even Roxy and Sana, is that it surprised me. I didn't know it was there until I started just writing the scene. And I was like, I remember stopping and thinking, oh, like poor Roxy, like in all this, like no wonder this is coming out. And I just like was thinking about Roxy's position for a minute, and then I could see like she really lost a lot between her daughters, right?
They can't see it. They can't see me.
Oh, sorry.
There's a tape in the way.
So like I just felt bad for everyone in that situation, but especially Roxy, because like her daughter went off, got handfasted. She was gone with the ambassador, didn't know where. Isadora's not sending letters home. Sana's like off in the Western network losing her sight. And, you know, like there's so much going on for Roxy. And it was fun to bring that out in this book so that other characters can kind of like stand and have their say. It was really cool. Were any of you frustrated with Max?
I mean, he was just being a dude.
Oh, well, that's a nice word.
He was being a Max. He's being
I
a
know I
man.
called him
really,
a-hole before,
It
but
starts with a D.
sorry,
usually.
Garrett. I'm married to a guy too, but in birth two of them.
I just think sometimes as women, we expect men to, I don't know, I'm sure there's women that probably don't give their emotions, voice their emotions either. But I think with Max, we were so frustrated because we could see that he loved Isadora. And it's like, how hard is it just to say the words? I mean, but his actions were showing her that she just didn't look at it that way.
Well, and also just a respect for how people hold things differently. Like to
Yeah.
Max, like to Isadora, it's like, yeah, like I love you, right? Like some people are just way more liberal with that term, where he was like, no, like I don't say this unless I mean it, and it means something. And Isadora needed to just understand that, I mean, part of marriage is understanding that, like we hold things differently,
Yeah, I didn't find it male female orientated. I just found it different characters, like you said, hold things differently. So I didn't actually have an issue with Max at all. It was just like, well, it's Max. It's just he's going through his stuff and this is how he's dealing with it, and like it or not. And if you don't, it's the door.
Well, and I didn't think the way I understood the emotional part with Isa, but the long hours, like he didn't appear to make any accommodations for excuse me, you have a wife at home who's just there and
somewhere she's never been before.
Yeah, you should probably make an extra effort to, I don't know, go home occasionally.
He is who he is, though. He's the ambassador. He was like she knew what she was walking into. This wasn't like, oh, hang on, you work a lot and you got
Garrett's going, yeah.
I think Garrett agrees.
It's
You
like
know what?
she knew what it was, and it's like, no, if she wanted to be entertained, she needed to do it herself, and that's what she went out and did. It wasn't his job to entertain her.
I kept thinking, why didn't Max or Charlie enlist another beautiful, recently married young woman that was on her own, doing her own thing on the other side? I mean, they could have helped each other. She knew the house she was part of.
Done that, I would have just gone, what?
But she did. Isadora and Faye became friends.
Yeah,
but it was like late in the game. They could have, Charlie.
No.
It kind of felt like, why didn't you just, go?
Isadora's first day at Wild Rose, she met Faye, and Faye took her to her apartment, and they talked, and they started their friendship. Like her first day alone at Wild Rose, Faye was there, and she went
goes,
to Faye's place.
This could be a good friend.
Yeah,
she said it.
Yeah, but there's not much interaction between them afterwards, and I don't know. I think, or maybe it's because because of my personality, I would have, kind of gone more to Faye and confided a bit more in her. I mean, that this guy's better than I do. Max way more than I do. What the hell's wrong with him?
But they do. Like that first conversation.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah,
Faye lays it out. Faye gives her the history. Like Faye tells her, like, look, I can't tell you everything because it's not my story, but this is me, Max, and Charlie. This is our story. And that's when she finds out that there's a basement, right? And then she's like, wait, what? And then she finds out that it's headquarters, and she had no idea. But I see what you're saying, Andy, because I don't have on screen all of the times that Faye and Isadora were together because there's just too much timeline there. But I also don't allude to it happening in the background either. So it's fair what you're saying because you don't necessarily see it happening. What were you going to say, Garrett? Because it seems like you have this makes you feel some kind of way.
No, I was just saying, like, she was gathering all this information by all these third parties. Like she was learning his story through all these other people. And then she's all like, why aren't you telling me this? Well, I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep a network together. I don't know. Well, let's not let the network burn to the ground. Like, sorry, you knew what the hell you were getting into.
But still, you make an effort. It doesn't matter what the heck's going on around you. You're choosing this
He
person to
went
be
home
with.
every
So much with her.
I mean, he did make her dinner.
Of course, but still, it's
Quite
not like
quite a bit. Quite a bit.
No. Well, it's because she didn't
you're
know how to
jumping
cook
ahead.
properly, I think.
No, she can
But
cook.
still.
Yeah, she can cook. It's just his.
Andy,
It's just his
don't
thing.
marry Max then.
What?
Andy, don't.
What,
Andy, don't
Lila?
marry Max.
It was his love
Well,
language.
he's very much
He
my
was
husband,
speaking his
so.
love language.
Yeah, they're just figuring it out, right? Like these are
Yeah.
all totally normal
Yeah.
growing pains, and it makes me happy
Yeah.
there's so much discussion because I did it right.
And because Charlie got into it too. Charlie was like, with Max and saying, "Hey, dude, would you rather not have it?" Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
Charlie even goes and talks to Isadora, and he's like, "Don't give up on him." Remember, they're like walking around outside with the horse.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, just inside or out. I'm watching my friend's dog, so there's like 5 dogs here. What are your thoughts on Ludius and Sana's growing pains? Because Ludius and Sana also had growing pains, like Isadora and Max.
That was hard to watch a little bit. I mean, you know that Sana obviously has to leave the forest to learn what she's going to need to learn to survive, obviously. But that was tough to the conversations to, that was hard to think, okay, Ludius has wanted to protect her, but he's willing to let her go to see what she can learn and come back as long as she comes back to him. Yeah, that was
Their
tough.
conversations are the parts that had me in tears the most.
Yeah.
Did you guys
It
have
was
a hard
like-
time reading Sana's storyline?
Yeah.
It's a hard
I
one.
A little
actually
bit.
learned a lot from it too. Like,
Wait
my-
till 2.
what was that?
Go ahead, Layla. What did you learn?
I actually was talking to the guys. We had a Zoom call when we couldn't have you, so we had a Zoom call together. Not a Zoom, witchery thing, messenger call, and we were chatting about. And I was telling the guys that I actually, while listening to the book, I went, "Oh, I'm going to make my coffee this morning because I know what I'm doing when I make my coffee. Except I'm going to shut my eyes."
Mhm.
And I'm going to do some of the stuff that, you've been talking about in the book and stuff, and about how things are and where things are and how full something is and all these sort of things. So I'm doing it, and I'm just going, it just blew my mind because I was going, wow, there was just so much more when I closed my eyes to try and do this thing that I knew how to do every day. But because I had a visual imprint before I started, it was easier for me to do it because I normally leave this here and I leave that there, and I know where this is and I know where I put that. And one of the things wasn't where it was supposed to be. So suddenly I'm like this on the sink looking for it.
Panic.
Then I went to put it on the hot plate and went, okay, the hot plate's hot. Oh, hang on. This isn't so good. That's a hot plate. But the whole time I knew I could open my eyes. And by doing that, it was really cool because then when I was listening on a whole other level. Yeah. Like it really, suddenly Sana's plight was like, wow, this is like full on. The fear factor of going, I can't just open my eyes to make it better. There is no opening the eyes. There's not an option. It's so all those, that was pretty full on.
So to write Sana's storyline, I don't know if all of you know Jade Abbott, but she is one of my Australian readers, and I enlisted Jade and Daniel Bear's help. Dan is in Oregon. He's a college student. He has a little bit of eyesight, but he's still legally blind. I think he has just a little he can see. Jade was sighted, but she lost all of her sight in her tweens. So she has a little memory of color and stuff. So she did see once, but she lost it all. So she was pivotal to the story. So I would send her questions, and then we did this hours long interview over Zoom. And I just said, tell me, what is it like to lose your sight? This is a really hard topic. that needs to be handled. And my goal with Sana was really, I wanted a main character that was not sighted to still be the hero, because you just don't see that in YA fantasy. And that is something I think most of us are terrified of ever happening, right? Like it's one of those things like, I'm not going to read that book because I don't want to think about that. But I really wanted like a blind heroine. And so Jade was all in. And I was like, and we're going to do it right. So we got super deep and she was amazing. Like she was super open and honest and vulnerable. And I was like, these are the things that Sana's going to go through. What else should I consider? What should I not consider? And we went into it deep. And then she read the book and she gave me all these pointers. And she was like, well, you wouldn't want to say it like this. You want to say it like this and consider this. And, you know, I use this to tell like the time and how, well, what about this spell? And so we were talking about a lot of different things that Sana will encounter. The transition from sighted to blind for Sana is really heaviest in the first like 2 books. There is some more of it in the third, but really books 1 and 2 are where she's coming. Yeah, 2 2 definitely. It's where she's like really coming into her own and like figuring out how to let go of who she wanted to be and embrace the beauty of who she is going to be, right? Like it's that whole looking forward, not back. And to write that, I did what you did, Lila. Like I like
full on.
I know it's scary. Like trying to she even pointed out, she was talking to her boyfriend one day, he's like, well, I'm so hungry, let's eat. And she goes, I can fix you something, but it's gonna take me 3 times longer than you. Because she's like, I love like breakfast sausage, but if she has raw breakfast sausage, she doesn't know when it's cooked, right?
Yeah.
Like how do you know
That's
when
what
it's
I was
cooked?
thinking.
And so
Yeah.
she's like, so I have to take the tongs and kind of squeeze them and make sure that they're turned, but she doesn't know if she's turning it on a side that's already cooked. And she, you
Yeah.
know, like there are certain things that she's like, I can kind of tell by how squishy they are, but I still have to have someone else tell me if they're fully cooked. And then she was like the other night, oh, because I said, I picture Sana as really insecure while she's eating. And she's like, I hate it when people watch me eat. She said she had to go to her boyfriend's and they had kind of like really messy hamburgers with a lot of barbecue sauce. And she's like, I hated it, but I had to ask if there was any left on my face because I couldn't see. And it was really embarrassing. I like her boyfriend's family is really cool, but it's that kind of stuff. She's like, I don't like it when people watch me eat because you have to feel around your plate with your fingers, right? To kind of know where things are. So it was really fascinating. And I got the send off from Jade. And then Dan and I talked on the phone for like an hour one day, and he gave me some considerations and things to think about. So I acknowledge that that's a hard storyline. Like that's hard. We love Sana, and to watch her go through that is hard, which is why I put that scene with Isadora and Lucy, where Isadora is saying to Lucy, like, I can't watch her go through this. Like she needs to do this and this and this, and this will help keep her safe. And Lucy's like, who are you to tell her what she should be feeling? Like she has lost her vision. Like you don't get to tell her that. You let her mourn. Because, you know, Sana can rebound from this. And she will. And that's the beauty of it, right? Is watching her grow into this new version of Sana of the forest, even if she's not running through tree limbs, which I will figure out. We're going to do it. So
well, I think also
on that note,
go ahead, Kim, and then Andy, you can finish your thought, Kim, and then Andy will go.
I think it was also good how you had Roxy, because I mean, as a parent, you know, I mean, my child doesn't go running. Well, they do go running through the forest, but I mean, not, but
blind.
I mean, you know, blind. I mean, you would be worried. You would want her to move back with you so you could take care of her. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was handled well with Roxy too.
Go ahead, Andy.
Something that kind of like sort of was how the forest can move for Bianca, but it doesn't move for Sana yet. Because I'm guessing, you know, it's like again outside dog, make up your mind.
Oh, it's like, a different one because there's 5.
It's a different dog.
It's a different dog.
I thought it was the same.
That's why I'm here. I'm like, I'm gonna have to get up anyway. I'll just stand by the door.
Well, so I was thinking, you know, and the forest moved and made paths for her. And when she was running, if there was something that was like too high for her to skip, it would move. And why isn't it doing it for Sana? I mean, she saved the darn forest.
You know, it's got to get there. Got to get there. She's got to learn how all her stuff first, I reckon. So once she learns her stuff, I'm sure Day Silver will be in there in the background.
I was just gonna say, I think Day
essence-wise.
Silver's got to step in.
What do you
Yeah,
think,
she
Deb?
might not make an appearance, but her essence and magic is always there.
Debbie, what do you think?
Well, they were both brought up so very differently because Bianca was born into magic. She's a witch.
Yeah.
Sana and their whole family were forced to reject it. So Dea Silva wouldn't be as prevalent in Sana's world as in Bianca's, is the way I see that.
So there is an answer.
She was
Andy.
the dragon master.
So there's an answer.
There's still a difference.
And actually Debbie's not far off. So and actually you nailed it. Sana's in love with dragons, right? Sana is there for dragons. Like her life revolves around the dragons. So she's part of the forest and she loves the forest, but her focus is not the forest. Bianca is very different, right? Bianca is about the forest. Like Leadhamwood is Bianca's true love, just as the dragons are her true love. So you're not going to see much more of a relationship between Sana and the trees. The trees are not going to speak with Sana directly. If they do, it'll surprise me. I have no plans, but again, I'm not in charge here. But I've never ever had plans for Sana to relate so directly with the forest unless it really impacts the dragons. Not that the forest thinks ill of her, like the forest recognizes her as a caretaker because she's tied so closely with Leadhamwood and the dragons. But Sana honestly isn't interested in the trees. Like not like Bianca. Bianca is the one that responded, right? And Sana doesn't respond to the trees. So you'll see more of that. But that's intentional too, because it's just not
But
Sana.
But in the Dragon Masters, the forest still helped and assisted and stuff like that. Even though she didn't talk to them, they were it was still, you know, present and stuff. But it still feels like it's like that thing where you guys are talking about, you know, being parents and that you have to and like Isadora was saying she should do this and she should do that, and it's like no, she needs to do this stuff on her own and journey on her own before more can come, so that she knows, like, because if she got helped all the way, she'd never be able to do things on her own because everything would be helped, and as soon as the help went away, she'd be defenseless.
Yeah, no, you nailed it, because at the very beginning of Flame, like the forest helps save Rosie and Junith, right? And Sana's like, that was magic. What? So the forest recognizes Sana for who she is and does see her as a caretaker because her and Ludius take care of the forest through the dragons.
The same way as Bianca.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same. Bianca's very special in that regard. And Sana's very special in her regard too, right? There's never going to be another Sana for sure. But Bianca is extremely set apart because plans, right? I don't actually know what those are yet. It has not yet been revealed to me. Dana, thank you for clarifying that. That probably does sound kind of weird. Like, what is she talking about? So I just say that I'm the person that got out of the way and let Alcara come to be. So the answers in the stories, they just come to me. So you guys are talking about the spider. I don't know. They just come to me. It just happens. It just makes itself known and I put it on the paper. And it's magic every freaking time. I wrote the entirety of book 4, having no idea how or why what was happening with Sana was happening or how it was going to come together. I had no idea. I was like, I don't know. I'm just throwing this down. We're going to find out. And then today I was like, oh, okay, that braided together way better than I ever thought it would, because when I get out of the way, Alcara comes out. So, so I appreciate all your thoughts on that. And one thing too, we only have 5 minutes left. This is just wild. These hours always go way too fast. But the other thing that came up for me was I realized Sana losing her sight is a transition for Ludius. And you see that when she's like trying to get him to explain what he sees, right? Like, what's going on? I can't see. And he's like, oh yeah, like I need to tell her these things now. There's a transition time where Ludius is learning how to be her eyes. I mean, it's like she got a seeing eye dragon, right? She's got to like train him how to lead her around the forest. And then in book 2, you're going to see an escalation of that as they're then forced to live apart and understand what it means to actually separate their lives and live their own life, but together. So it's pretty cool. Any last thoughts, comments, questions, anything before we close this out?
Well, I like Sana because I grew up with a blind sister.
Oh, that's great to know.
She was born blind, and she also had CP, so she couldn't walk.
Oh.
So it was doubly difficult. So
yeah.
So you do learn a lot from them. And like you said, when they feel their plate to eat and you have to tell them, okay, well, here's your plate. This is on this corner. This is here. This is here. This is here. Your cup is up here. Your napkin's there. And
yeah,
you do have to give them your eyes. And here's a step down. Here's a step. You need to step up. Watch for this. And
yeah. Jade talks a lot about the art of directing someone non-sighted, right?
Yeah.
Like how she goes, there's so much trust in it. Because you might say 3 steps, but it's really 5. So, if you don't know each other or how to gauge things, she goes, it requires a level of communication that Jade admitted. She goes, sometimes I'm not even up for. Like, I don't know how to explain to people what I need them to see for me.
Yeah.
And like how frustrating that can be and stuff. So thanks for sharing that. That's good to hear. As just an FYI for everyone that didn't hear earlier, next Friday we are launching Spring for Spears, which is my co-written novel with Derek Allen Sidaway. It's gonna be awesome. It takes place in a world, I'm pretty sure it's called Peldrin. We had to renegotiate contract terms, and that necessitated renaming the entire world. I'm pretty sure it's Peldrin, and it's very much a Katie Crossian book in that it's big magic in wild places, because I will always bring you epic magic in wild places. It's about a girl and her Amarak wolf, which is think of like the Twilight werewolves, these giant wolves that they bond with and have a connection with as she fights for her tribe that lives in this beautiful, like rolling kind of prairie. It's not Leadham. I was like, we can't do forest. I have forest. So it's called like the Dark Dales, and it's more like prairie land and stuff. And she basically wants nothing more than to be an Amarak and bonded with, or an Ulfsarka, which is a member of her tribe that bonds with these wolves, and they are able to communicate and kind of be one. But of course, it's not that easy. So this is the first book in the Wolf Song saga. It's called Spring for Spears. The next book is Sword Summer, and that'll be coming out at some point in the future. But it's coming out and it's awesome. I narrated the audiobook. It's only going to be for sale on Derek's website. He's the publisher. So when you click on the link, I have a little warning, but if you go to someone else's website, everything's fine. Don't panic. It's the same book. It's only for sale on his website for now. We might sell it on my website next time, but I'm just kind of keeping it clean with him doing it. So that's next week. And then the week after that,
Is that book
you
funnel?
get Sister Witch Book 2. Yes, it's Book Funnel. He has the same setup as me, his own same store, shop pay, deliver on Book Funnel. There's audiobook, ebook, and paperback. So everything's the same. It's just a different website. And if you have any issues with your order, you'll just need to contact Derek. You can just hit reply to your receipt or something, because I don't have access to his back end. So
and it's a good book.
Sorry, that was wrong.
It's a fun book. Like, it's really, I really love Astrid. It's different, but not too different, right? Like, if you like my books, I think you're still gonna like it. Yeah. And then the week after that, Sister Witches Book 2 comes out. So we have 14 days until you have Sister Witches Book 2 in your hands. It's Debbie's favorite so far. It is really good. It's a really heartfelt book.
That'll be a great
all the feels. It's all the feels. It's a really good one. So that is still coming out. We gave Astrid the prime slot for launching this month to kind of give her a boost and get her out there, since it's her first book. I think you guys will really like it. And then of course we'll be doing book clubs for both of those books 2 weeks after launch. So I'll remind all of you, but there will be book clubs for them. If you guys want longer, like if 2 weeks isn't long enough for book club, we can start spacing those out, whatever works best for you guys. So just give me whatever feedback you have if you need more or less time. Probably not less than 2 weeks for most people. But anyway, thank you for coming tonight. It was so fun to spend it with all you. It was a really long work day for me. I slogged through this crazy ending because Max, sweet Max, and I had a headache and my brain was crispy fried, and I was like so excited to talk to you guys, and my headache's gone and my energy's high. So thanks for coming on and chatting with me about Sister Witches and our favorite Sana and Isadora. I am going to go mindlessly stare at the television with my husband. It's gonna be fantastic. I hope all of you are doing something equally fun or going to bed. And we are back on.
It sounds
live
like you better
writing.
gear up for your snowstorm.
No, don't say the S word. That's a bad word, Kim.
It is a bad word. Four-letter
Well,
word.
we're just below 4,000 feet, so I'm hoping we're in the 1 to 3 inches category and not the 6 to 12 inches above 4,000 feet. But we are definitely in the mountains, and so I think we're probably in the latter.
We're 10 feet above sea level.
Oh wow!
There's so much oxygen there, I choke whenever I go.
I'm below sea level.
I lived at 9,000 feet for 4 years, and I'd go to sea level, and I'd be like, "You fools are like high on oxygen down here." Like I run 2 miles up there in twice the time. Anyway, but all of you have a great night. Thanks for coming. Amy, it was great to meet you. Meg, I'm glad you snuck in. And Live Writing with Katie will be back Monday evening at 7 o'clock Mountain Time for more American Bianca. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Bye.